So hello friends, today we will be continuing the discussion on this neoplasia, and we have yesterday stopped on the six features of a cancer, six hallmarks of cancer that we said: growth signal, self-sufficiency, anti-growth signal, insensitivity, evasion of apoptosis, and there is a limitless replicative potential, sustained angiogenesis, tissue invasion, and metastasis. Okay, so that means these features will be seen and other features will also be seen. For example, in the biochemistry, we have Warburg effect, isn't it? There is a shifting of the metabolism. And so if tumor is forming, if tumor is being, there is tumorigenesis happening in the body. That means immune system should get the information of that. Immune system should be very much well versed with it, should be aware of that thing happening in the body, which is an abnormal thing. Okay. So what will happen? That that is basically the that is basically the trick of the tumor cell. That is basically the trick of the tumor cell to evade the immune response. And also you have some checkpoints in the body. You have immune checkpoints. For example, we have T cells, CTLA4 receptors, CD28 receptors. We have anti-CTLA for antibodies. We have, so they all are, in the pathogenesis of this. They are trying to kill this, this cancer cell. Okay, so let me begin. Let me begin the discussion by writing something about these six hallmarks. Okay, see, growth signal. Let me write the first one. So if I talk about the first feature we said it was, let us write like this: self sufficiency to growth signals. Self sufficiency means I'm self sufficient. I can regulate my growth by my own factors. I don't need anybody's other growth factor to come for me and stimulate the growth for me. Okay, so for example, there are two genes. One is a proto-oncogene, one is an oncogene. Okay, so which of the following is a normal gene in your body? Is it a proto-oncogene or an oncogene? Proto-oncogene is an normal gene. Okay, so if proto-oncogene gets mutated, we say carcinoma will be forming, isn't it? So any mutation in this gene will form the oncogene, which will start the process of tumorigenesis. Tumorigenesis. Okay. Now, if I give a gain in function mutation, for example, you have to form, uh, you want more of the blood vessels. What you will do? You will increase that factor which is increasing the blood vessels. You will increase that factor which is increasing the blood vessels. For example, endothelial derived growth factor, isn't it? EDRF, for example, endothelial derived growth factor. Okay, so if you want your blood vessels, blood supply to get increased, what you will do? You will express this more. You will express this more, or you will increase your autocrine loop. You will give a gain in function mutation. No, there are two things. One is a gain in function mutation. Another is functiona liesa. That is loss of function mutation. That is what is happening in the tumor cells, isn't it? Either you will be having a gain of function mutation or you will be having a loss of function mutation, isn't it? So that means this tumor cell should be able to establish an autonomous lineage. It should be able to establish an autonomous lineage. That means autonomous means independence. It should form an independent lineage. For example, if you want to heal a wound, this healing of the wound is a physiological process. Okay, and all the cells will respond to it. There will be cells of inflammation when a wound is happening. There will be cells of, there will be increase in the vascular permeability in that area, so that more amounts of, neutrophils can diapedicize to that place. And there will be also the relocation of the nutrients to that place, so that the things can start building up the tissue amount there, isn't it? So that means that cellular response is very much nicely coordinated. It's exquisitely coordinated. I can use the word exquisitely. It's exquisitely coordinated. That means physiologically this is happening, isn't it? It's a homeostasis. It's a homeostasis. It's a normal homeostasis of the body. That means the proliferation will happen when it is needed. And if you don't need proliferation, it should cease. Okay. That means this whole process should be controlled by positive and negative signals. This whole process should be controlled by positive and negative signals. Now, cancer cell is doing what? It is escaping this mechanism. It is escaping this normal system of checks and balances, I can say. It's escaping from this normal system of checks and balances. They're growing, they're proliferating. They don't need any external stimuli. They will, no, you give them signal or you don't give them signal. They are regardless. They are regardless. There is no one to desist them. There is no one to desist them. Is it fine? So that is where the oncogenes are coming into play. These oncogenes, they are such a, they are basically, it was written in some book, if I remember. It's writing that it's basically the way, a military system is getting, military system is being fooled by an enemy. A military system of a country is trying to, maintain that, what to say, strategy on its borders. But if an enemy is such that you are not able to locate them, what will happen? So that means they won't, they won't be stopped, and they won't be even, they won't be dependent on, they will have their own mechanism. Same way cancer cell is doing. It's an enemy of the normal system of the body. It's the enemy of a normal system. It is escaping checks. It is escaping balances. It is escaping the external stimuli. You would be saying, sir, why are you speaking so much? Because it's worth it. It's worth it. The moment you forget these things, then you won't be able to treat a cancer. Okay. So oncogenes, what they are doing is that cell which is trying to evade this immune system, which is trying to evade all the physiological control of the body, is basically the whole play is done by this oncogene. The whole play is being played by this oncogene. What this oncogene is doing, it is, what is the definition of oncogene? You can say it is an aberrant form. It is an aberrant form of proto-oncogene. Aberrant form of proto-oncogene. Proto. I forgot to write 2, then I add 2. Proto-oncogene. Okay, they are aberrant form of this proto-oncogene. Fine. So basically what happened, this oncogene, they isolated this from the viruses. They saw that the viruses which were causing this, the viruses were causing some sequences, the viruses were causing some cancers. So that's why the concept of V-onc and C-onc came. What is V-onc? Viral oncogenes. C-onc, cellular oncogenes. Cellular oncogenes. These two concepts came. Okay. So there was these two. They said V oncogenes are, they have homologous character with this C onc, that is called sequence homology. Sequence homology. homology. Can we understand? They have sequence homology with normal cells. That means, sir, what in short you want to say? I want to say our every cell has the potential to change into a cancer cell. Pretty much every cell. So that is, it depends on the state of stress, it depends on the duration of stress, it depends on the type of stress, and it depends on the behavior, the amount of anaplasia or metaplasia, whatever you call, will cause that. Okay, so that means we all have the seeds of own destruction, isn't it? We all have the seeds of, so we all have the seeds of own destruction. That is, it depends. If I have a normal sequence, you give any sort of a stimulus, that stimulus, which stimulus stimulates the tumorigenesis. This stimulus which stimulates the tumorigenesis can transform this normal sequence into a oncosequence. Can transform this normal sequence into oncosequence. That is, when you have an oncosequence in the cell, what will happen? You are going to have active oncogenes. When you are going to have active oncogenes, what will happen? Malignant transformation. Are we able to understand, guys? Are we clear? So that means, sir, if they are not able to, they are not listening to any cell, they are not listening to immune system, that means they should have a character of immortality. They should have a character they are attaining, they are achieving. Let me write in a simple word. They are achieving immortality. Basically, there was a scientist, if I go into the story part of it, the back history, it was the Hayflick hypothesis. There was a hypothesis that was called a Hayflick hypothesis. What did the Hayflick hypothesis say? Hayflick hypothesis was saying that your normal cells, he was saying, listen to the words, he said your normal cells can go only some finite number of divisions. The normal cells are allowed by the body to go into finite number of divisions. That means around 60 divisions. Okay. So there he said a concept of telomere. He said a concept of telomere. He said, if you progressively shorten this telomere, okay, so I would say telomeric shortening occurs with every division. Let us make it simple. With every division, telomere, I'm writing something else. So telomeric shortening is happening. Telomeric shortening is happening. Fine. Think, when this telomeric shortening will finish, you won't be having any lineage further. Are we able to understand? So what cancer cells are doing, they are using this enzyme telomerase so that they can make their telomeres with each cell division. That means there is no telomeric shortening. That means when there is no telomeric shortening, what will happen? You are surviving, man, you are surviving. You are achieving immortality. Then the cancer cell comes on the minaret, and what it says, I am immortal. I am immortal. Why? Because I can manipulate the enzyme telomerase. Wow, telomerase. Now, some people would be thinking, sir, I wish I had telomerase. Okay, but I will be giving a different lecture. Why death is inevitable. Death is inevitable, isn't it? So death is inevitable. Can't stop it. Even if you have telomerase. That's a big philosophy behind it. I'll be teaching you in a lecture, scientifically giving you the proofs. Okay. So there is, so what you will say, if you want to live forever, if a cancer cell wants to live forever, if you want to live, you should write the note like this. The way I'm writing, please write it. It's not a story. I'm trying to make it understand in a way, in a story form. So living forever means telomeric manipulation. That is no shortening of telomere. That is no shortening of telomere. No shortening of telomere, guys. So if you don't have shortening of telomere, yeah, now you will be having the lineage which will never die out. You'll be having a immortality, having a immortality. Are we able to understand how it is attaining the immortality? Fine. So what was you can arrange in that 6 the way I taught you. Okay, you can add them. I'm just haphazardly speaking, whatever comes in the mind. Okay. So second, we said that they have with that I want to say evasion of apoptosis. Evasion of apoptosis. See guys, evasion of apoptosis means I should have mutation in those genes which are doing apoptosis. And I hope I have taught you in the basics. If you haven't attended my classes or basics of pathology, I have already made the videos. You can check on the same channel, this channel, Dying Paths. The playlist is already there. You can just go serial wise and have a look on those videos. It's important to watch the basics of pathology videos, that reversible and irreversible changes. Otherwise, the neoplasia topic becomes difficult, guys. Okay. So evasion of apoptosis means I have to mess. If I am a cancer cell, I have to mess with P53. I have to mess with TP53 gene, and I have to mess with BCL2. I have taught you pro-apoptotic genes, anti-apoptotic genes. Okay, so that is what I taught you in the cancer of follicular B-cell lymphoma. A beautiful cancer. Sir, don't say beautiful cancer. Basically, oncology is interesting. So in a follicular B-cell lymphoma, we are seeing that in the BCL2 gene. I have taught you last time. So that's what it is doing in the apoptosis. So what it is doing? Who can tell us how to evade apoptosis? You have to evade the dash. You have to evade the A pi, O pi, tau omega, sigma, TS process. What you have to, what we have to alpha, let us write like this, alpha pi, tau, omega, sigma, S. What is this? Anyone? Who can tell us something about this? What are you writing? You are writing some Greek letters. Yeah. It is basically the name of apoptosis. It is the name of apoptosis, guys. Apoptosis was written like this. This was the Greek name of apoptosis. What does this show? What is the meaning of this? The meaning of this is falling leaf. What? What is the meaning of this? Falling leaf. Okay. This is the meaning of falling leaf. That's how they wrote this. So what they saw is basically apoptosis is what? It's a programmed cell death. It's a programmed cell death. Yeah. So it's a programmed cell death. It's not cell death actually. Cell death can happen through necrosis also. It's a programmed cell death. That's the meaning of apoptosis. There is no inflammation. There is no attractants to lymphocytes, macrophages, neutrophils. Okay. So what happens in apoptosis? There is a sequence of cellular events happening so that a cell can die. But in necrosis, you don't have that orderly process. You don't have any internal programmed mechanism to do that. So the cell has to dismantle itself. Okay, in a clean fashion. It should not be in a murder fashion. It should be in a clean fashion. Okay, so That means apoptosis should be physiological process. Apoptosis should be physiological process, isn't it? So which genes were pro-apoptotic genes? Which genes are pro-apoptotic genes? It's P53, for example. Pro-apoptotic genes, isn't it? So can I say these genes are tumor suppressor gene? Can I say this is a tumor suppressor gene, guys? Because if a cell is pro-apoptotic, that means it is suppressing the tumor. So that means, should I have a positive function of P53 or negative function of P53? I will repeat. I say P53 is a pro-apoptotic gene. What to say? Pro-apoptotic. That means it is actually hastening, it is fastening that process of apoptosis. Now I am saying, in a normal body, if you activate the P53, what should happen? Tumor suppressor gene should be coming into play. That means it should behave as a tumor suppressor gene. But now I tell you, I give a positive response. I am positively stimulating it, means stimulating it again and again. So what I am doing actually? Dash. I am doing dash. If I am stimulating P53 again and again, I am doing tumor suppression. This is what the answer should be. If I am stimulating it again and again, again and again, again and again, so I will be having tumor suppression. Fine. If I do something which it had the property of doing, P53 was having the property of suppressing the tumor. Now I gave a mutation to this gene so that it's not able to suppress, and dash. Now I am giving a loss of function mutation, dash. Then tumorigenesis, you can say tumorigenesis is happening. So tumorigenesis. Are we clear, friends? That means decreased tumor suppression. Decreased tumor suppression means increased tumor, means increased tumor. So that's what cancer cell is doing. That's the, see, can you see how beautifully they are knowing everything? How genetics is controlling everything. Okay. So there were some books which are using that term, wrong cells, wrong places, wrong times, wrong cells, wrong places at wrong times. So that means you have wrong cells, isn't it? Wrong cells in the wrong places. I hope you understand this. I have taught you everything at the wrong times. Are we clear, friends? So this is how you can understand the literature. Okay. Is there any doubt with this discussion? Fine. Now there is one thing I have taught in the basics. I have taught in the basics, that is dysplasia and neoplasia. What is the difference? What is difference between a dysplasia and a neoplasm? Dysplasia is basically it's an adaptation. It's a cellular adaptation to that stress which we learned in the basics. So that means that should be reversible. Okay, so that means whenever a cell, I have taught in the previous, so if you haven't understood anything about, or not able to understand, you have to go to those videos and listen so that you can understand. So I have told you, if you want to go into malignancy, I taught in the basics there, I said the same line. I said if you want to go into the malignancy, you should become a dysplasia, you should become dysplastic. Now I taught you at that time, let us write like this. I told you guys, where is this? What happened to this? Okay. So see, I would write like this. If I have a dysplasia, if there was dysplasia, okay, there was what? There was a different nuclear size. There was a different shape. It was showing pleomorphism, isn't it? Do we remember? And there was a, no, that abnormality. And the examples we gave was a squamous, cervical squamous intraepithelial neoplasia. Do you remember? And there was colorectal tubular adenomas. That was the example. So I said, if you are not able to reverse it, you will proceed to malignancy. If you're not able to create an environment to cure, dysplasia, that you won't be, no, you will be transforming yourself into a malignancy. You will be transforming yourself into a malignancy. Isn't it? Isn't it, guys? I hope you are sleeping, guys. I hope, isn't it? Okay. No, you are not sleeping. Okay, you are not sleeping. So that means dysplasia is basically forming a ground. So when you have a loss of uniformity in your shape, cell shape, you don't have any orientation of the tissue. You have increased, what I taught at that time, you have increased nuclear cytoplasmic ratio. You have increased nuclear cytoplasmic ratio. That will cause dysplasia. So that means if you are reaching from normal cell to a dysplastic cell, you are actually you will be landing yourself into a stage which is called carcinoma in situ, or you can call a pre-invasive neoplasm, pre-invasive condition, isn't it? Okay. So dysplasia, we said the examples were what? We had cervical, squamous, intraepithelial neoplasia, and we had colorectal tubular adenoma, colorectal tubular adenomas. Fine. What about the neoplasms? Neoplasms. What about the neoplasm? Neoplasm is same. Yesterday we said neoplasm is basically a growth, and that means that growth can be of two types. That can be a well differentiated. That can be a well differentiated. That can be a poorly differentiated. Oh, what's happening? Okay, so poorly differentiated. Poorly differentiated. Okay, what do we mean by well differentiated and poorly differentiated, guys? What do we mean by well differentiated and poorly differentiated? I will give you a chocolate if you answer. But don't start writing something which only you know. Okay, write something which is common to all medical fraternities, which every medical doctor can understand. Okay, don't speak something which I have to think whether it is or not. Okay. Yeah. Keep making mistakes. There is no problem. Absolutely no problem in making mistakes. You can make mistakes in front of me, but not in the hospital. Leads to tumor well differentiated. See, if well differentiated means if a mass, is having a close resemblance with that tissue from which it originated, will be called a well differentiated. And if I go into my singing fashion of medicine, like I teach medicine, if there is no little resemblance, if there is little resemblance to the tissue of origin, then it will be called poorly differentiated tumor. So how to remember? Well differentiated tumor is that tumor, if there is resemblance to the tissue of origin, will be called a well differentiated tumor. If a tumor is having a little resemblance to the tissue of origin, will be called poorly differentiated tumor. That's how we remember. So I don't want to waste time in writing. You can write it. I will directly write resemblance to the original tissue from which it is originating. Poorly differentiated tumor, little resemblance. Little resemblance of the origin. Now guys, there I told you some angiogenic thing about the angiogenesis, that they are having a sustained angiogenesis, isn't it? See the sustained angiogenesis which they have. Sustained angiogenesis. Basically, I would say the perfect word to use for a sustained angiogenesis. I can say angiogenic competence. Okay, the word we can use, you can make an or in your notes. If you say it's sustained angiogenesis. So in the sustained angiogenesis, let me write like this: sustained angiogenesis. So this sustained angiogenesis can be written as angiogenic competence. See guys, angiogenic competence means, for example, I'm making these cells. That's what I was saying, isn't it? When it got disconnected. If I have these cells, when they are increasing, they are doing hyperplasia. That too, no, that hyperplasia is a pathological hyperplasia, what is happening. And that means you will be increasing, once you are increasing the number of cells, you will be having a increase in the diameter. So that means they will increase their mass. They will now, for example, there is a lipoma. If I take a simple, definitely, every MBBS graduate, every doctor can tell this most common condition. I have a patient, I check his forearm, and I am having a benign variety. I can palpate something, that's lipoma. There is a mass, a lipid mass, a lipoma. Now this lipoma, if it becomes, it is trying to expand more. So what will happen? It will increase its diameter. Okay. That means once it's increasing, that means it will be, it has to supply the oxygen and also the glucose for itself. Because if one leg piece is for one person, so if you have 50 persons in a group, then you will need 50 leg pieces. And that means you should make a way for yourself so that all the 50 people eat at the same time. It's not that dinner will happen 50 times. It's not dinner will happen 50 times. In one dinner, you have to take 50 leg pieces. You have to take 50 leg pieces. So how we will do this? That means that means the manpower should increase. The manpower should increase. If you increase the manpower, what will happen? If you have, for example, this is one row and you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have 5 people and you had 50 people. That means the combination should be 10 rows. 10 rows should be there, and in 10 rows there should be again 5 people. And if you have one person serving in this line, that means you should have how many people? 10 persons. So that means one person will serve 5. This will also serve at the same time. This will also serve at the same time. That means you should increase the blood flow. That means you should increase the number of vessels. That means you should make the route. You should make a route. I can say, a patent route. You should create a patent route so that blood can come at the same time and feed all these malignant cells. So that means your blood supply should be, that means you should remain in what state? You should behave, this cancer cell should behave in an aggressive fashion. This cancer cell should behave in an aggressive fashion. That is, it will form blood vessels for its tumor. So that is what is that is what is the meaning of this angiogenic competence. But remember this angiogenic competence. What is angiogenic competence? It is the ability of a tumor to form the blood vessels. If those tumors want to go into malignant transformation, they want to go into malignant transformation. That is what is the acquired angiogenic competence. And we yesterday said, sir, malignancy is having the ability to invade. I will connect this with this. Malignant cell is having the ability to invade. Okay, that means, I yesterday gave you an example. I hope it's with me here. This was this house number 2 was not able to breach. He was not breaching, or he was not doing any sort of a, he was not doing any sort of a tort, I can say. Was not doing any sort of a tort. It was not breaching the land of the other person. Okay, he was not, he was legally living in its fencing. He had a fencing and he was not, acquiring his land illegally. So that means it was respecting the rules of the body. But now when it is attaining that malignant state, it is not respecting the structure of this normal tissue. Able to understand? So that means they will now be breaching. They will breach the basement membrane. They will breach the basement membrane. There is a breach. There is a breach in the basement membrane. I hope there is a basement membrane proper, isn't it? From histology. So basement membrane. So they will be breaching this and then gain access to the blood supply. I hope you know the extracellular matrix is having that blood supply. So it will try to metastasize by those. How it can metastasize? Who can tell us? How it can metastasize to lymph vessels and blood supply? You should open your 3 fingers. Open your 3 fingers, guys. First make a fist and then open the 3 fingers. Okay? Consecutively. For understanding this concept. How it is going? You should open your first finger. First finger stands for increase in the interstitial pressure. In that tissue. Second, enzyme secretion. Third thing, mobility. This is how a cancer cell wins this competition. It can increase the interstitial pressure in that tissue, and it can secrete some extracellular enzymes like collagenases, everything what they have, and digest that matrix and invade, because your basement membrane is made up of collagen, type 4 collagen, and this type 4 collagen, if you want to invade this, what you will do? You will be using the collagenase enzyme. Collagenase will break the collagen and you will start getting dissipated. There is a dissipation of these cells into the circulation. Okay, and there is one concept, that is contact inhibition. There is a concept of contact inhibition. Contact inhibition means normally when you have a cell growing with another cell, this is one cell, this is another cell, this is another cell. When these cells are growing, when one cell grows, starts growing, the other cell will give a negative response to it. It will tell, okay, you have grown now, stop. This is your boundary. This is your boundary, you can stop here. And it will stop. Okay. Another cell, when it grows, it can also stop. This also stop. This is a normal thing. But cancer cell is not following this mechanism. What it is doing an unrestrained proliferation. It's doing an unrestrained proliferation. And there is lack of contact inhibition in cancer cell. So there is lack of contact inhibition in a cancer cell. There is lack of contact inhibition. That means they can directly go to any tissue. They don't see anything. They don't see any limits. Secrete collagenase, go anywhere where you want. So what enzymes they have, by the way? They have collagenases. I haven't written, so let me write the enzyme name. Collagenases, proteases. These enzymes they have, so that they can metastasize. And what is the function of these enzymes? To digest extracellular matrix. Digest the extracellular matrix. Okay. Then further discussions, I will be teaching you the epithelial mesenchymal transition. Do we know EMT? Do we know the meaning of EMT? What is EMT, guys? Don't say it is electron microscope, okay? It has a T with it. So EMT stands for epithelial mesenchymal transition. What is this? EMT? Remember, the thing is that EMT means I had an epithelial cell. And epithelial cell is thinking, the name is itself telling the meaning. Epithelial cell is saying, I once upon a time. What? Once upon a time in dash. Don't say any country name. Once upon a time in life, I was a mesenchymal cell. That's why it is transforming into a mesenchymal cell. And if an EMT is happening, remember a malignancy is happening. Okay. So which genes can do this? Any examples of EMT which do the EMT for process formation? Who can tell us? I hope you have studied in neoplasia, isn't it? So which things can cause EMT? We have SRC gene, we have RAS gene, we have integrins, we have WNT beta catenin, we have Notch. So let us write. So we should learn them, guys. It's important. AMT. Which genes are doing the CMT, by the way? SRC, RAS, integrins, WNT beta catenin, Notch. These will be doing the CMT. So this Gompertzian growth curve is telling us a relationship. A tumor can be, you can detect the growth curve by using the this exponential curve graph. Okay, that means if you talk about the doubling time of a tumor, the doubling time of a tumor follows a exponential curve. Exponential curve. Okay, this is called Gompertzian curve. What is the Gompertzian curve telling us? For example, it is telling us the time. It is telling us when will you be having the limit of clinical detection also. Okay, it tells you the growth of a tumor. Okay, it says in the beginning of the stages, growth will be exponential. But when the as you know, as it is progressing, the tumor is growing and growing and growing, the growth rate will slow. And that growth rate, this slowing of the growth rate is because the tumor cell is not able to arrange the nutrition and oxygenation for itself. That means now there happens a competition between the tumor cells. What a beautiful concept it is given. He has written a very beautifully that tumor cells will now be in a competition. That is, they will now be in a competition with the tissues in which the host cell and also with the cells which are around it. Able to understand. So what is the concept behind it? Have you understood? Have you understood? So it says that let me make a graph and then you will understand. Let me make a graph for you guys. Neoplasia is interesting. Neoplasia is interesting. Beautiful subject. Medicine is subject. I love medicine. I don't know why I love medicine. Don't know. But maybe someday I will come to know. So we have 0, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, and let us make 1 here. Let us make 10 to the power 2, 10 to the power 4, 10 to the power 6, 10 to the power 8, and so on. 10, 12, 14. Okay. So what we do is we draw a limit of clinical detection. We draw a limit of clinical detection. Let's make it zoom. 10 to the power 8, I will make a limit of clinical detection. This is the limit of clinical detection. Limit of clinical detection. That means the graph starts exponentially. Let me make an exponential. Are we clear? This Gompertzian pattern. Okay. So that means, can I say the growth is happening more before the limit of clinical detection? Fast, tell me fast. We'll finish it in 10 minutes, guys. Fast. Can I say the growth is happening more before the clinical detection time? Yes, sir. So that means the growth of the tumor happens more between the before the clinical detection time. Okay. And if they are detected, can I say beyond this point? Can I say beyond this point, the when you have detected those tumors, those rapid growth has finished? Can I say the rapid growth has decreased? Rapid growth has decreased. The rapid growth has decreased. Can I say also that this is the period where I as a doctor can start cytotoxic drugs so that I can kill them very, they are more sensitive because they have passed that period. They are not able to arrange nutrition and oxygenation for themselves. They are not able to arrange oxygenation beyond this point. Can I say that they are more sensitive to the chemotherapy which I will be giving? Can I say the cells which have been divided here, they are old cells? They are old cells, or they are early tumors, and these cells are the new cells which are rapid growth has decreased, isn't it? So this is the concept you have to, it's not more in your, I've just integrated this thing. Okay, I just wanted to discuss this curve for your information, that this Gompertzian pattern is telling us the diagnosis also, and also the treatment for the disease. Okay, just I wanted you to know this Gompertzian graph. There are so many things regarding this graph, but for your second year purpose, I just gave you some insights of this curve. So rest we will be learning tomorrow. So see you all. Please revise this concept, read the books, and see you with continue this topic tomorrow. Take care and bye bye.